Hey there, Senior Sales Director Sherilyn Arnold here. I thought it was time that I shared a video on how to work your business around kids, little kids, big kids, adult kids, kids of all ages. So, a little backstory, I started my Mary Kay business 24 years ago, and I was a school teacher shortly thereafter, graduated from college, had a baby. When she was 10 weeks old, I just couldn't leave her. I was just so in love with her. And I was married also to a school teacher. So me staying home meant losing half of our income and our it was a meager income anyway, but I I just took the plunge. Um, I had faith that the motivation to stay home with her um, would be what I needed to really get my business going and consistently. And it was enough of a motivator that I got to work and replace that teaching income within that year. And I want to let you know that I am married to a teacher, as I said, but he's also a coach. And at one point, he was coaching, when we had kids, he was coaching football, baseball, and basketball, which meant year round coaching. And he did that for many years. So this guy was gone at 6 a.m. and home at 9 p.m. And if he was in season, um, he was he had work to do when he got home. I have never been able to count on him for childcare, to be able to run my business, fulfill my dreams, have my career, help our family. That just was not in the cards, and not because he was unwilling, because he was unable to. And this year, well, a couple years ago, he became the head football coach. It's so time consuming that he dropped all the other sports that he was coaching. And this is a year round job. And, it's 10 o'clock at night and he's at the table breaking down film and will be getting a few hours of sleep right now because he's in season. And that's just how it goes for him. He loves his job. He's extremely fulfilled and he's making a difference. And I'm really happy for him that he's progressing and growing. And because I give him that courtesy instead of anger or resentment because he's not around to help with the kids, he gives me the same courtesy in my business, and he's excited for me for all the growth and the challenges and the new things that I get to experience. So I want to give you some tips about how to work your business around kids and have some semblance of harmony and balance and a good strong marriage. So first thing is, I just gave up the idea that it was his job to babysit the kids while I was at work. And I also gave up the notion that it was my job to babysit the kids when I was at work, since that was going to be really hard for both of us. I decided to get some help. So here are some tips and tricks of things that I did. And you may not want to implement all of these because they just may not be your style, but hopefully some of these ideas will help you. So, first of all, when I had an infant, um, I held appointments in the afternoon while she was napping. Your infant, after a while, instead of taking like two naps during the day, usually will take a long afternoon nap, and then that will usually continue until they are hopefully 3 or 4. I know some stop napping before that, but that does give you a couple of years where if you can keep your appointments to about 90 minutes, you even have some time to accomplish some other things while your baby's napping. So put the baby down for a nap, hold an appointment. And then I did nighttime appointments after the baby went to bed. So the baby was always in bed and safe when I was doing my appointments. It wasn't always perfect. I know sometimes they don't go to sleep when they're supposed to. Sometimes they wake up in the middle of an appointment. And I will tell you, when things with my kids didn't go like I needed them to go or they didn't go perfect, I remained calm. So if you just remain calm, take care of it, continue on with the appointment, your customers also remain calm. If you start to get riled up or you start to overly discipline your child in front of your guests, then they feel that they're intruding or they're causing the problem and they all they want to do is leave. So um, I've made a peanut butter sandwich before very calmly, handed it to a child who woke up hungry, and continued to do the party with my boys while I was making peanut butter sandwich. Take that mask, put it on, avoid your eyes. We're going to let it dry. Here's your sandwich, honey. Okay, so back to the table, do the appointment. So remain calm, but think about holding your appointments when it's of least impact to your family. Another thing I did is I pretty much moved my business home for probably about 15 years. Sometimes just depending on where I lived and how much space I had and how nice things were, I would do my appointments, even my unit meeting at my house, but not very often. I usually wanted to get out to go somewhere. But hostesses brought their parties to my house, and facials came to my house, interviews would come to my house. And when I booked the appointment, people would say, oh, you're doing it at your house? And I say, oh, yeah, I have a nursing baby, so I'm not very mobile. Or I have a toddler, so I'm not very mobile. Or I have 3 kids, so I'm not very mobile. I have a nursing baby and a toddler, so I'm not very mobile. And no one ever had a problem with that, with coming over once I explained why I needed to work from home. So another thing that I did is if I was going to have a party, then I was concerned about the kids. Once I had more than one, I didn't have everyone napping or everyone sleeping. And so I had little girls in my neighborhood who weren't quite old enough to work for minimum wage, somewhere between 13, 15 years old, to come over and just play with my kids and try to keep them distracted. I never forbid the kids from coming and talking to me while I was doing the party, because remember, people only need to hear your voice. So you can hold a kid or hug a kid real quick, or, just say, hey, everybody, this is so-and-so, introduce your child to them, and then have them scoot off on their way. Stay very calm and positive. Never made my kids feel like they couldn't come talk to me while I was working, but having a little helper, usually that person could entertain them, play with them, take care of their needs, and everything was fine. I also could have a little girl come over and clean up before parties, because I didn't want to go into the party super stressful. So they could just come do a little bit of cleaning. And I usually worked it out ahead of time with their mother. And I had 3 or 4 so that I had several to call upon, and they could walk over. They were, I asked them if I could pay them in makeup. So I paid them $5 an hour, but in makeup. So it really cost me $2.50 an hour. And I okayed all of that with their moms ahead of time. So I always had kind of little helpers just coming over and helping. For my unit meetings, as a sales director and really as a serious consultant, I could not miss those meetings. And so I had a person in place every week. I wasn't scrambling every single week to try to find someone. I got something arranged ahead of time. So I had a woman in my neighborhood who I gave 50% off all the Mary Kay she wanted if she would take my kids every Tuesday night. Then my backup plan was my mother. My mother was willing to help, but she didn't want to help every single week. So she was my backup plan in case this lady got sick or canceled on me or something strange happened, she wasn't available. And I also gave my mom 50% off all the Mary Kay she wanted. Actually, and I'm still giving her that because she was so helpful to me and is still helpful to me with my kids. But she wasn't available all the time, and she was still working, so she was a no-go during the days. So my unit meeting was totally covered. Another thing that I did is we had a pizza night on Thursday nights, and mind you, this is all without a husband helping. We had a pizza night. I would put a blanket upstairs. This is when I had maybe like a 7 or an 8-year-old that could watch the other 3 somewhat. And we put a blanket upstairs. We got movies, and I got a couple boxes of pizzas, and they sat on the blanket and ate pizza and watched a movie. So I knew that I had about 2 hours to get this appointment done, this recruiting appointment, before the movie ended. And yes, there was pizza all over my bed, all over the walls. on the blanket. Didn't care. Didn't care. That it cleans up, and it was totally worth the 2 hours that I got to do my own recruiting appointment. Also, this was something that my consultants were invited to, and I had every week when we did it, I grabbed a consultant and just said, "Hey, will you sit right here by the stairs?" You know, still in the room with us, but where the kids would be entering into the room if they're going to interrupt us. And that consultant would usually just try to take care of their needs, see what they needed. She didn't forbid them if they wanted to talk to me, come hug me or whatever. And I stayed real chill about it. And I will tell you guys that we got into a pink Cadillac and I started making an executive income working only from home. Okay, now another thing is I wanted to take some training classes in Salt Lake, and I lived in the Ogden area, so it was like an hour away. I wanted to do that every other week. They were being held. So I traded with another mom. So let's say it was Mondays. I took her kids on Mondays and she took my kids on Monday. So our kids loved Monday. Instead of hanging on my leg and crying when I left, they were going to go have a play date with someone else. So we swapped that way. She wanted to volunteer at the school every other Monday, and I wanted to go do this thing. So I just traded kids every other week with another mom. And if I had wanted to hold appointments away from home, that would have been easy to do too, just kid swapping. Even with another consultant, you can do that. So I hope that those are some ideas that help you. But honestly, I just worked from home. Oh, and when the kids totally stopped napping, they loved to just sit at the table with us with their own little mirror and tray, getting their own little facials and makeovers with the people that I was sitting with. So that is helpful too. And also, sometimes I just had to tell my kids that they were going to have quiet time in their room. I would tell them that they didn't need to go to sleep if they didn't want to. They could play in their room, read in their room, lay in their room, but they just needed to stay in their room and have quiet time. And that worked pretty good most of the time. Like I'm saying, it wasn't perfect all of the time. I just stayed calm and relaxed and positive. I wanted my kids to feel like I worked Mary Kay around them, not I worked them around Mary Kay. So there are some tips for happy, successful Mary Kay business, family life, marriage. Just think about, think out of the box, other ways that you can get some help with your kids. And if you move at home, because if you feel like you don't like other people to watch your kids, and if you move more of your appointments home, then you're just there with someone playing with your kids. So you're still in charge and you're still there to help. So hope that helps.